The scent of pine and blood should never mix, but that's all I could smell as I cradled what was left of my mother in my arms, her fur matted with something too dark to be anything but death. "Raina," she gasped, and even in her wolf form, I heard the human pain beneath the growl. Her body convulsed, trying to shift back, but the silver poisoning had gone too deep. I watched her bones crack and reset, stuck between two worlds like a nightmare that wouldn't end. "Don't talk, Mama, please don't talk." My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold her, and I hated myself for it. 19 years she'd trained me to be strong, to be unbreakable, and here I was, falling apart like a pup. Her golden eyes found mine, and for a moment, they cleared. "Silvercrest," she wheezed. "Go, to Silvercrest." Then she was gone. Just like that. No dramatic last words, no final wisdom, just my mother's body going still in my arms while the forest around us pretended nothing had changed. A bird even had the audacity to chirp somewhere above me. I don't remember the sound I made, but I felt it tear out of my chest like something feral and ancient. My bones snapped and reformed before I could even think about it, my first true shift happening not in some controlled training session like Mama had planned, but in pure, crystallized rage. The transformation hurt like hell, but I welcomed it. Pain meant I was still alive. Pain meant I could make someone else hurt worse. Silvercrest. The name burned in my mind like a brand. I'd heard Mama mention it exactly twice in my entire life, always with this strange sadness in her voice that I'd never understood. Now I understood perfectly. They were the ones who did this. They were the ones who would pay. I ran. The forest blurred past me, trees becoming streaks of brown and green as my new body learned what it meant to hunt. Every muscle was fire, every breath was fury, and somewhere in the logical part of my brain that wasn't drowning in grief, I knew I should probably have a plan beyond find Silvercrest and tear out their throats, but honestly, that seemed like a pretty solid plan to me. I'd been running for maybe 20 minutes when the other wolves appeared. They came out of the shadows like they'd been waiting for me, 6 of them forming a loose circle. They were huge, way bigger than I was, and the rational part of my brain was screaming at me to run. But the part of me that had just watched my mother die, that part wanted to add 6 more bodies to my list. Well, the largest one said, shifting mid-stride into a man who looked like he enjoyed other people's pain a little too much. Scars crisscrossed his chest, and his eyes were the color of dirty ice. Lyra's little secret, all grown up and glowing with potential. He knew my mother's name. He knew about me. "Who are you?" I snarled, and wow, okay, my voice in wolf form was terrifying even to my own ears. "I'm Draven," he said, like I should be impressed. "And you're coming with us." I laughed, and it came out as something between a bark and a howl. "I'm going to Silvercrest. I'm going to kill every last one of them for what they did to my mother." Something flickered across Draven's face. Surprise? Satisfaction? It was gone too quickly for me to read. "Silvercrest," he repeated slowly. "Yes. They're the ones who killed Lyra, aren't they? Cowards, attacking her when she was alone, using silver like the honorless dogs they are." My growl deepened. Just hearing him confirm it made everything inside me want to explode. "But here's the thing, little wolf," Draven continued, circling me like I was prey. "You can't just storm into Silvercrest and expect to survive. They're the second largest pack in the territory. They have numbers, strategy, experience. You have rage. Admirable, but ultimately useless. Then get out of my way and let me die trying. Or," he said, and his smile made my skin crawl even through the fur, "you could let me help you. Let me train you properly. Make you into the weapon you need to be to destroy them all." If you're wondering what happens next, hit that subscribe button because this story is about to get insane. I should have said no. Every instinct Mama had trained into me was screaming that something was wrong, that Draven's offer was too convenient, too easy. But I wasn't thinking with the part of my brain that Mama had carefully cultivated through years of patient training. I was thinking with the part that kept seeing her body convulse, kept hearing that last rattling breath. "Fine," I said. "But the second I'm ready, I go after Silvercrest." Of course, Draven agreed, too quickly. "That's exactly what I want too." He led me to their territory, a compound hidden in the hills where the trees grew so thick that sunlight barely reached the ground. There were maybe 30 wolves there, all of them watching me with this hungry curiosity that made my hackles rise. "This is Raina," Draven announced. "Lyra's daughter. She'll be staying with us while we prepare for our assault on Silvercrest." A woman shifted from wolf to human, graceful in a way that made it look easy. She was maybe 40, with silver streaking through her black hair and a face that might have been kind if not for the calculating gleam in her eyes. "I'm Vera," she said. "I'll be overseeing your training. Your mother was remarkable. I hope you inherited some of her gifts." "I inherited her enemies," I shot back. "That's all I need." Vera smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Grief makes us say stupid things. Come. You need food and rest before we begin." The next 3 weeks were hell, but a productive kind of hell. Draven hadn't been lying about the training. They pushed me harder than Mama ever had, forcing me to fight multiple opponents at once, to hunt while being hunted, to think tactically instead of just relying on rage and instinct. I was good. Better than good, actually. By the end of the second week, I was holding my own against wolves twice my size and 3 times my age. Vera kept giving me these strange looks, like she was seeing something that surprised her. "Your mother taught you well," she said one evening after I'd managed to pin her in a sparring match. "But there's something else, isn't there? Something beyond normal wolf strength." I shrugged, not wanting to give away too much. Mama had always warned me never to show anyone my full power, that there were those who would kill to possess it or kill to prevent me from using it. But Draven was watching, always watching, and I could feel his attention on me like a physical weight. Sometimes I'd catch him talking to Vera in hushed tones, and they'd stop the moment they noticed me. It was during the 3rd week that he called me into his den. "Sit," he ordered, gesturing to a rough-hewn chair. The room smelled like old blood and newer schemes. I sat, every muscle tense. "I'm impressed with your progress," Draven began, pacing in front of me. "You're stronger than I anticipated. Faster. More controlled. Good. When do we attack Silvercrest?" "Soon," he promised. "But there's been a complication. Our scouts report that Silvercrest has increased their patrols. They're expecting trouble. So, we have the advantage of. They have numbers, Raina. Even with your impressive abilities, we'd be slaughtered in a direct assault. We need to be smarter." I hated how reasonable he sounded. "What are you suggesting?" Draven stopped pacing and looked at me with those ice-chip eyes. "I'm suggesting we use their own compassion against them. Silvercrest prides themselves on being noble, on protecting the weak and innocent. So we give them someone weak and innocent to protect." It took me a second to understand what he was implying. "You want me to pretend to be a victim?" "Not pretend. You are a victim. Your mother was murdered. You've been alone and afraid, running for your life. All of that is true." He leaned forward, his voice dropping to something almost gentle. "All I'm asking is that you let them think they're rescuing you. Get inside their territory, learn their weaknesses, and when we attack, you open the gates from within." Everything in me recoiled at the idea. It felt wrong, cowardly, like I was betraying everything Mama had taught me about facing enemies head-on. But it also felt smart. And if it meant getting close enough to rip out the throat of whoever gave the order to kill my mother, I'd swallow my pride and do it. How do I even get their attention? Draven smiled like I'd just passed some kind of test. "Leave that to us. Tomorrow night, Silvercrest is sending a patrol to the western border to investigate reports of rogue wolves. You're going to be there, injured and alone, and they're going to find you. And you'll be watching to make sure I play my part?" "We'll be watching to make sure they take the bait," Draven corrected. "But yes, we'll be close. Not close enough for them to scent us, but close enough to extract you if things go wrong." I nodded slowly. "What do I tell them about my mother?" "The truth, mostly. That she trained you alone, that she was killed, that you've been running ever since. Just leave out the part where she told you it was Silvercrest who killed her. Let them tell you that story. Let them think they're the first ones to offer you safety. It was manipulative and cruel and absolutely brilliant, and I hated how much sense it made." "One more thing," Draven added, pulling out a syringe filled with something that looked like liquid silver. "This will suppress your scent for about 3 weeks. Your bloodline carries a distinctive marker. We can't have them recognizing you too quickly. Recognizing me? They don't even know I exist. Something flickered across his face again, that same strange expression I couldn't quite read. Just a precaution. The less they know, the better. The injection burned like fire in my veins, and for a terrifying moment, I felt my wolf retreat deep inside me, like it was hiding from something toxic. But then the sensation faded, leaving me feeling oddly hollow and diminished. It'll wear off, Vera assured me, appearing in the doorway. The discomfort is temporary. The next evening, they prepared me for the infiltration. Vera gave me actual injuries, carefully controlled claw marks across my ribs and a bite on my shoulder that hurt like hell but would heal within days. You need to look like you've been running for your life, she explained, almost apologetically. These will sell the story. Draven handed me a torn piece of cloth that smelled like mama. I didn't ask where he'd gotten it, didn't want to think about him going back to where she died and taking pieces of her for his schemes. Keep this hidden, he instructed. If they question your story, if they start to doubt, show them this. Tell them it's all you have left of your mother. The scent will confirm you're telling the truth about being Lyra's daughter. Why would they even know my mother? Draven's expression went carefully blank. Lyra was known in certain circles. Just trust me on this. They led me to the western border as night fell, positioning me near a stream where Silvercrest's patrol would definitely pass. Draven grabbed my face roughly, forcing me to meet his eyes. Remember, he hissed, you're terrified, alone, desperate. You know nothing about pack politics or territory wars. You're just a girl who lost her mother and needs protection. Can you do that? I jerked my chin out of his grip. I can act scared. It's not that far from the truth. Good girl. He stepped back into the shadows. We'll be watching. Don't disappoint me. Then I was alone. The stream gurgled peacefully, completely indifferent to the lies I was about to tell, or the revenge I was about to take. I settled against a tree, making myself look small and hurt, which wasn't hard considering Vera's preparations were really starting to ache. I waited. And waited. The moon was directly overhead when I finally heard them, the soft pat of paws on earth, the rustle of leaves, the almost imperceptible sounds of wolves trying to move quietly. 4 of them, approaching in a standard patrol formation. I made myself whimper, a small sound of pain that I knew would carry on the night air. The footsteps stopped. Then, more cautiously, continued. They appeared through the trees, all in wolf form, all massive and intimidating. But there was something different about them, something I couldn't quite name. They didn't move like predators stalking prey. They moved like protectors investigating a threat. The largest one, a wolf with fur the color of midnight and eyes like liquid silver, shifted first. She was striking in a way that made my breath catch, tall and lean with sharp features softened by concern, dark hair falling just past her shoulders, and an intensity in her gaze that felt like it could see straight through me. Easy, she said softly, holding up her hands to show she meant no harm. We're not going to hurt you. I pressed myself against the tree, letting my eyes go wide with fear that was only partially fake. Now that I was this close to members of Silvercrest, the rage was back, burning under my skin like a living thing. These people killed my mother. One of them shifted into a woman with kind eyes and graying hair. She approached slowly, the way you'd approach a wounded animal. Sweetheart, you're hurt. Let us help you. I'm Marin, and this is Kael. She gestured to the midnight wolf who was now pulling on clothes. We're from the Silvercrest pack. You're safe now. Safe. The word tasted like ash in my mouth. My mother, I whispered, and I didn't have to fake the break in my voice. They killed my mother. Kael moved closer, and I got my first real look at her. Strong jawline, broad shoulders, silver eyes that held way too much compassion for someone whose pack murdered innocent wolves. And there was something else. Something that made my traitorous heart skip a beat even though I wanted to rip her throat out. Stop it, I told myself fiercely. She's the enemy. They're all enemies. Who killed your mother? Kael asked gently. Can you tell us what happened? I shook my head, letting tears spill over. They were real tears, just not for the reason Silvercrest would think. I don't know. We were alone, just the 2 of us. She trained me, taught me everything. Then one night, she went to hunt and came back. I couldn't finish. Didn't need to. Marin was already kneeling beside me, her hand warm on my shoulder. You poor thing. How long have you been alone? Weeks. Maybe. I don't know. Everything's been a blur. The other two wolves had shifted now, a man and a woman who looked like siblings. They were hanging back, giving me space, but I could see the pity in their eyes. I hated it. Hated lying to them, hated making them feel sorry for me, hated that part of me wanted their compassion to be real. What's your name? Kael asked. For a second, I hesitated. Giving them my real name felt dangerous, like I was offering them a piece of myself I couldn't take back. But Draven had been clear, stick as close to the truth as possible. Raina. Kael's reaction was subtle but definite. Her eyes widened just a fraction, and she exchanged a quick glance with Marin that I wasn't supposed to catch. Raina, she repeated slowly. And your mother's name? This was the test. The moment where everything either worked or fell apart. Lyra, I whispered. Her name was Lyra. The effect was immediate and dramatic. All four of them went completely still, and the air suddenly felt charged with something electric and intense. Marin's hand tightened on my shoulder, almost painfully. Lyra. You're Lyra's daughter. It wasn't a question. It was a statement of impossible fact, and the way she said it made my stomach twist with confusion. They weren't supposed to react like this. They were supposed to pretend they didn't know her, maybe fake some sympathy. They weren't supposed to look like I'd just told them I'd risen from the dead. You knew my mother? I asked, and I didn't have to fake the shock in my voice. Kael dropped to her knees in front of me so fast it was almost aggressive. Her hands gripped my arms, her silver eyes searching my face with an intensity that made me want to pull away and lean closer at the same time. Knew her, she breathed. Raina, Lyra was our alpha. She led this pack for 15 years before she disappeared. We've been searching for her, for both of you, for almost 2 decades. The world tilted sideways. No, that couldn't be right. Mama had never mentioned leading a pack. She'd never talked about Silvercrest except in passing, never suggested she'd been anything other than a lone wolf who chose isolation. You're lying, I said flatly. I'm not. Kael's voice was rough with emotion. Lyra saved me when I was 8 years old. Found me half dead in the woods after my birth pack was slaughtered. She took me in, trained me, raised me like I was her own daughter. When she left, when she disappeared without explanation, it nearly destroyed us. Marin was crying now, actual tears streaming down her face. We thought you were dead. Both of you. Lyra left in the middle of the night 19 years ago and never came back. We sent search parties for months, but there was no trail, no scent, nothing. It was like you both just vanished. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. They were supposed to be guilty, defensive, hostile. They weren't supposed to be looking at me like I was some kind of miracle. She left to protect you, the male sibling said quietly. He had the same silver eyes as Kael, I noticed. Maybe it was a Silvercrest thing. That's the only explanation that makes sense. Something made her believe you were safer away from the pack. But from what? The female sibling demanded. We would have protected them both with our lives. Clearly, she didn't think so, I snapped, finding my anger again and clinging to it like a lifeline. These people were good. Really good. The way they were selling this story, the emotion in their voices, the tears, it was almost believable. Almost. But I knew the truth. Mama had told me herself. Silvercrest killed her. Except, had she? Go to Silvercrest, she'd said. Not Silvercrest did this, or Silvercrest killed me. Just, go to Silvercrest. No. I was reading too much into dying words. She'd meant what I thought she meant. She had to have. You need medical attention, Kael said, her hands still on my arms, warm and steady. And food, rest, safety. Come back with us. Let us help you. Let us honor Lyra's memory by protecting what she loved most. I wanted to say no. Wanted to spit in her face and run back to Draven's pack and forget this whole confusing mess. But that wasn't the plan. The plan was to infiltrate, to get inside their territory, to find weaknesses. So I nodded, letting myself sag with feigned exhaustion. Okay, yes. The relief on their faces would have been touching if I wasn't convinced they were all lying murderers. Kael shifted back into her wolf form and lowered herself so I could climb onto her back. I hesitated, hating how vulnerable it made me, but I was supposed to be weak and injured. So I grabbed her fur and pulled myself up, trying to ignore how warm she was, how solid, how safe it felt. Safe. There was that word again, and it was starting to really piss me off. The journey to Silvercrest territory took about an hour, and with every mile, I felt the wrongness of my decision growing. This wasn't right. These weren't supposed to be good people. But the way they moved together, the way they kept checking on me, the genuine joy in their voices when they talked about my mother, it was all too real. We emerged from the forest into a clearing where houses were built into the trees and hills, a perfect blend of civilization and nature. Wolves in both forms moved through the space with easy familiarity, and the whole place radiated a sense of community that made my chest ache. This was what Mama had left behind? This was what she'd given up? "Welcome home," Kael said as she shifted back, and the way she said home made something inside me crack just a little. The next few days passed in a blur of medical attention, gentle questions, and way too much kindness. They gave me my own room in what they called the Alpha House, a sprawling structure built into the largest oak tree I'd ever seen. Marin personally tended to my wounds, which healed faster than they should have, making her raise her eyebrows but not comment. Kael was around constantly, and it was starting to become a problem. Not because she was threatening or suspicious, but because she was neither of those things. She brought me food, asked about my childhood, told me stories about my mother that made her sound like a completely different person than the one I'd known. She had this laugh, she said one evening, sitting across from me on the porch while the sun set. This absolutely ridiculous laugh that sounded like a crow choking. She hated it, tried to suppress it, but when something really got her, it would just burst out and everyone would start laughing too. I tried to imagine Mama laughing like that and couldn't. The woman who'd raised me had been serious, focused, always teaching or training or preparing me for threats I didn't understand. She never laughed around me, I admitted before I could stop myself. Kael's expression turned sad. She must have been so scared. Whatever made her leave, whatever she was protecting you from, it must have consumed her. Or maybe you're all lying and she left because you betrayed her. I'd been testing them with comments like that all week, trying to provoke a reaction, waiting for the mask to slip. But Kael just looked at me with those impossibly patient silver eyes. "I can't prove we didn't," she said quietly. "You have no reason to trust us. But I can tell you that Lyra was the best of us and we loved her. If someone hurt her, if someone killed her like you said, we want justice just as much as you do. Do you?" I challenged. "Because from where I'm sitting, you all seem pretty comfortable in your little paradise here. Doesn't seem like you've been burning the world down looking for her killer." For the first time, I saw anger flash across Kael's face. Real, genuine anger. "We didn't know she was dead," she said, her voice tight. "We thought she'd chosen to leave. That she'd found somewhere better, somewhere safer for you both. If we'd known," she stood abruptly, her hands clenched into fists. "If we'd known someone killed her, there wouldn't be a pack in this territory still standing." The intensity of her reaction startled me, and before I could think better of it, I stood too, moving closer to her. "Prove it," I demanded. "Prove you're not just saying what I want to hear." Kael turned to face me fully, and suddenly we were too close, close enough that I could see the storm clouds in her silver eyes, close enough to feel the heat radiating off her skin. "How?" she asked, her voice dropping to something rough and dangerous. "How do I prove something like that?" I didn't have an answer. Didn't trust myself to speak, because standing this close to her was making my heart race in a way that had nothing to do with fear or rage, and everything to do with the fact that she was looking at me like I was something precious and breakable and worth protecting. This wasn't supposed to happen. I wasn't supposed to feel anything for her except hatred. She was the enemy. Her pack killed my mother. But what if they didn't? The thought was so traitorous, so dangerous, that I physically stepped back, putting distance between us. "I need to go to bed," I muttered, retreating toward the door. "Raina, wait." "Good night, Kael." I fled to my room and locked the door, then spent the next hour trying to convince myself that the ache in my chest was grief and not something infinitely more complicated. 3 days later, I was sitting in the common area trying to look casual while actually cataloging every exit and weak point in Silvercrest's defenses when I overheard Marin talking to one of the older wolves. "We need to call a council meeting," Marin was saying, her voice low and urgent. "She's been here almost 2 weeks. We can't keep hiding it from her. Kael thinks we should wait until she's more stable, more settled," the other wolf argued. "Kael's compromised. Anyone with eyes can see she's falling for her, which means her judgment is clouded." My heart stopped. Kael was falling for me? That was ridiculous. Impossible. We'd known each other less than 2 weeks. She was just being kind because I was her dead mentor's daughter. Wasn't she? "Besides," Marin continued, "if we wait too long and she finds out on her own, she'll never trust us. We need to tell her everything. About Lyra leaving. About the threat. About why we need to find her before Draven does," the other wolf finished grimly. I stopped breathing entirely. They knew about Draven. They knew he was a threat. Which meant either they were part of whatever killed my mother and Draven was hunting them for it, or Draven was the threat. Draven was what Mama had been protecting me from. No, that didn't make sense. Draven had helped me, trained me, given me the tools to get revenge. Given me just enough truth mixed with lies to point me at his enemies. The realization hit me like a physical blow, and I had to grip the edge of the table to keep from swaying. The sense-suppressing injection. The convenient way he'd confirmed that Silvercrest killed Mama. The way he'd been so eager to get me inside their territory. I'd been played. Make sure you're subscribed, because you won't believe what she discovers next. That night, I decided to confront Kael. I waited until after midnight, then crept through the Alpha house toward her room. The door was unlocked because of course it was. These people didn't seem to believe in security or suspicion. I slipped inside and found her sitting by the window, staring out at the moon like she'd been waiting for me. "Couldn't sleep either?" she asked without turning around. "You knew I was coming. You're not exactly stealthy when you're conflicted." She turned to face me, and in the moonlight, her eyes were almost luminous. "I've been waiting for this, honestly. Figured it was only a matter of time before you decided to either trust us or test us." "Draven," I said flatly. "Tell me about Draven." Kael's expression darkened. "So you overheard Marin. Tell me the truth. All of it. Because I'm starting to think everything I believed was a lie." She was quiet for a long moment, then gestured to the bed. "Sit. This is going to take a while." I sat, and she settled beside me, close enough that our shoulders almost touched. "Draven has been systematically eliminating anyone with a claim to the Wolf Lord bloodline," Kael began. "Your mother was one of the last true Wolf Lords. And you carry that power in your blood. That's why she hid you. That's why she trained you alone. She was trying to keep you safe from people like Draven who would kill you for what you are. Wolf Lord." The term Draven had mentioned once, in passing, like it didn't matter. "That's why he gave me the injection," I realized, horror crawling up my spine. "To suppress my scent. So you wouldn't recognize what I was." "What injection?" I told her. Told her everything, Draven's offer, the training, the plan to infiltrate Silvercrest, all of it. With every word, Kael's expression grew darker, more murderous. "He's been planning this for weeks," Kael said when I finished. "Getting you here, earning your trust, making you hate us. The question is when he plans to attack." As if in answer, the howls started. They came from every direction at once, a coordinated assault that spoke of planning and precision. Draven's pack, surrounding Silvercrest, moving in for the kill. "He said he'd be watching," I breathed. "He's been waiting for me to open the gates from inside." Kael grabbed my shoulders, her face fierce and determined. "Listen to me very carefully. In about 30 seconds, this house is going to be full of wolves preparing for battle. They're going to look to me for orders, and I need you to decide right now, right here, right this second, whose side you're on." My heart was racing so fast I thought it might explode. I can't." "Yes, you can. You're Lyra's daughter. You're stronger than you know. But I need to know if I can trust you to fight with us, or if I need to lock you somewhere safe until this is over." The howls were getting closer. I could hear shouting now, the sounds of Silvercrest mobilizing for battle. I want to help, I said, surprised by how steady my voice was. I want to fight. Then you stay close to me, she said immediately. You don't leave my sight. Can you do that? I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. The door burst open and Marin rushed in, already half-shifted. Kael, there, she stopped, seeing us together, seeing my determined expression. Oh, thank the moon. I was worried we'd have to fight her too. She's with us, Kael said firmly, and the absolute certainty in her voice made something in my chest crack wide open. Good, because we need every fighter we have. They've got us surrounded, at least 40 wolves, and they're moving in fast. Marin tossed Kael a knife that looked like it was made of the same silver that had killed my mother. Draven's leading them personally. We ran. The battle was already raging when we reached the main clearing. Draven's wolves were everywhere, larger and more vicious than Silvercrest's defenders. They fought dirty, going for throats and tendons, trying to disable rather than kill. I spotted Vera in the chaos, her silver-streaked fur unmistakable. She was circling a younger Silvercrest wolf, toying with him, and rage unlike anything I'd ever felt surged through me. She'd helped prepare me for this. Had given me those injuries to sell my story. Had known exactly what Draven was planning and hadn't said a word. I hit her like a freight train, all teeth and claws and 19 years of my mother's training. We went down in a tangle of fur and fury, and her eyes went wide with shock when she realized who was attacking her. Raina, she gasped, what are you? I didn't let her finish. My jaws closed around her throat, not quite hard enough to kill, but definitely hard enough to make her think I might. She went limp beneath me, submitting. But Kael's voice cut through the bloodlust. Raina, to your left. I released Vera and spun just in time to see one of Draven's wolves leaping at me. I dodged, felt claws rake across my shoulder, tasted blood. The world narrowed to instinct and survival, to the brutal mathematics of kill or be killed. And then suddenly Draven was there, standing at the edge of the clearing in human form, watching the chaos with those ice-chip eyes. Raina, he called out, his voice cutting through the sounds of battle like a blade. I'm disappointed. I thought you were smarter than this. I shifted back to human, not caring about the nakedness or vulnerability. You killed my mother. I gave your mother what she deserved, Draven corrected, circling closer. Lyra thought she could hide you away, could keep the Wolf Lord power for her pathetic bloodline. She was wrong. Kael shifted beside me, putting herself partially between Draven and me. You're not touching her. And who's going to stop me? You. Draven laughed, the sound empty and cruel. You're not her protector, Kael. You're nothing but a stray Lyra took pity on. The words were designed to hurt, and from the way Kael's jaw tightened, they succeeded. But she didn't move, didn't give Draven the reaction he wanted. I'm the alpha of Silvercrest, Kael said quietly. And you just declared war on my pack. That makes you my problem to solve. Draven's smile widened. Then solve it. He shifted in the space between seconds, a massive dark wolf that radiated power and violence. Kael met him halfway, and they collided with a sound like thunder. I wanted to help. Wanted to jump in and fight beside Kael. But I could see the strategy in Draven's movements, could recognize the training he drilled into me being used against someone I cared about. The fight was brutal. Draven was older, more experienced, fighting with the kind of viciousness that came from decades of survival. But Kael was protecting something, and that made her dangerous in a different way. I watched them tear into each other, watched blood spray and fur fly, and felt something building inside me. Something hot and electric and utterly foreign. My vision started to blur, shifting into colors that shouldn't exist, and power that I'd been suppressing my whole life suddenly demanded release. The Wolf Lord power. My birthright. The thing Draven had killed my mother to possess. I didn't make a conscious decision to use it. The power just erupted from me in a wave that knocked every fighting wolf off their feet. The world went silent, every creature in the clearing frozen, and staring at me with expressions ranging from awe to terror. I was glowing. Actually glowing, my skin radiating a golden light that felt like sunshine made solid. And I could feel them, every wolf present, their essence, their strength, their fear. I could feel the pack bonds that tied Silvercrest together, could sense the brittle, fear-based connections in Draven's pack. And I could break them. Could sever Draven's hold on his wolves with a thought. So I did. The effect was instantaneous. Draven's pack scattered, the artificial loyalty that had bound them dissolving like smoke. They ran in every direction, abandoning their leader without a second thought, leaving him alone in a clearing full of enemies. Draven stared at me with something that might have been respect if it wasn't overwhelmed by hatred. Impressive. Lyra never managed that level of control. But it doesn't matter. You're still just a child playing with powers you don't understand. Maybe I agreed. But I understand enough to know you're not leaving here alive. He lunged, faster than anything that size should be able to move, jaws aiming for my throat. But Kael was faster, intercepting him mid-leap, bearing him to the ground with enough force to crack bone. The fight that followed was short and merciless. Kael didn't give Draven a chance to recover, didn't show the mercy that Silvercrest was known for. She just ended it, quickly and efficiently, the way you'd put down a rabid dog. When it was over, when Draven's body lay still in the blood-soaked grass, Kael shifted back to human and looked at me with eyes that held too many emotions to name. "It's over," she said simply. But the golden light was still pouring from my skin, the power still surging through my veins, and I didn't know how to stop it. "Kael," I gasped, I don't know how to turn it off." She approached slowly, hands raised. "Yes, you do. The power responds to your will. If you want it to stop, it will stop. What if I can't control it? What if I hurt someone? You won't." She was close now, close enough to touch despite the energy crackling around me. "Raina, look at me. You're not your power. The power is just a tool. You decide what to do with it." Her faith in me was staggering and completely unearned, but somehow it steadied me. I focused on the golden light, imagined it flowing back inside, and slowly, so slowly, it obeyed. The glow faded, the power retreated, and I was just me again. And then I collapsed. Kael caught me before I hit the ground, pulling me against her chest and holding on like I might disappear if she let go. "I've got you," she murmured into my hair. "You're safe. You're home." Home. The word that had seemed so wrong 2 weeks ago now felt like the only truth that mattered. I pulled back enough to look at her, seeing the cuts and bruises that covered her skin, the exhaustion in her eyes, the fierce protectiveness in every line of her face. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "For not trusting you. For almost. Don't." She pressed her forehead to mine, her hands gentle despite the violence they'd just committed. "You have nothing to apologize for. I fell for you," I admitted, the words spilling out before I could stop them. "That's what made me question everything. I wasn't supposed to feel anything for you except hate, but every time you looked at me, every time you smiled, I felt it. And it scared me more than anything Draven ever did." Kael's smile was soft and devastating. "Good. Because I've been falling for you since the moment I saw you by that stream." I kissed her. It was probably a terrible idea. We were both covered in blood and exhausted and surrounded by witnesses. But I didn't care. I kissed her like she was air and I'd been drowning, like she was home and I'd been lost forever. When we finally pulled apart, Marin was standing nearby with the biggest smile I'd ever seen. "About damn time," she said cheerfully. "Now can we please tend to our wounded before sunrise?" The weeks that followed were a blur of healing and discovery. Silvercrest's healers tended to the wounded while I learned to control the Wolf Lord power that had lain dormant in my blood. Kael was beside me through all of it, patient and unwavering, helping me understand what I was capable of. The other packs heard about Draven's death and my existence, and they came, some to pledge loyalty, others to test my resolve. There were challenges and disputes, moments where I doubted everything. But Kael was always there, my anchor, my partner in building something better. One evening, 3 months after that terrible night, Kael found me by the stream where we'd first met. "Can't sleep?" she asked, settling beside me. "Just thinking." I leaned into her warmth. About my mother, about how different things turned out from what either of us expected. "I think Lyra knew," Kael said quietly. "When she sent you to Silvercrest with her last breath, I think she knew we'd find each other. That I'd help you find your way home." Tears pricked my eyes. "You think she planned this?" I think she hoped for it. Kael turned to face me, her expression serious. And I think she'd be incredibly proud of who you've become. I kissed her then, pouring everything I felt into it, gratitude and love and hope and the fierce determination to honor my mother's memory by being the wolf lord she'd believed I could be. When we pulled apart, Kael pulled out a ring, simple silver with a moonstone that caught the starlight. I know it's only been a few months, but my wolf chose you before my mind caught up, and I don't want to wait any longer. Will you bond with me? Spend the next however many decades we get standing beside me while we build something better. I stared at the ring, at Kael's hopeful face, at the future spreading out before us. Yes, I breathed. Yes to all of it. Her smile could have lit the entire forest. She slipped the ring onto my finger, and the moment it settled into place, I felt something shift. A connection snapping into place, tying my wolf to hers in ways I didn't fully understand but knew were right. I love you, I said. I love you, and I can't wait to build this future with you. I love you too, she murmured against my lips. Somewhere in the forest, a wolf howled. Then another and another, until the entire pack was singing to the moon, celebrating our union. Standing there in Kael's arms, I finally understood what Mama had been trying to tell me with her last breath. Go to Silvercrest. Go home. Go to the place where you'll find love and purpose and everything I couldn't give you alone. I'd found it all. And though challenges lay ahead, packs to unite, threats to face, a world to rebuild, I wasn't facing any of it alone anymore. I had Kael. I had Silvercrest. I had a family I'd chosen and who'd chosen me in return. Drop a comment telling me what you think Raina's biggest challenge as Wolf Lord will be, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this one.